What's going on, Facebook? Happy Monday. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're just catching Patriot updates for the first time, come over and check us out. We've got a new group, Patriot Updates, up on Facebook and soon to be Parler. Our Patriot Updates goes live on Parler tomorrow, so come check us out there as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're catching this inside of Patriot Updates, I want to say hello to all of my fellow conservative patriots. If you get a chance, please share this. If you're just watching this for the first time, let me know where you're tuning in from, what city, what state. We would love to know where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you share this, type shared into the comments section so that we can thank you. Normally, I am joined here by my co-host, Mrs. Flaherty, but she is out and about today, so she's not here with us, but we've got a lot to talk about today. So appreciate you guys tuning in. What's going on, Mr. Matt Iameo? Thanks so much for watching. Hello, Cheryl. Good to have you watching from Canada. Good to have you on. Hey, Colleen and Greg and Don, how are you guys? Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hey, listen, if you share tonight's episode, please type shared so that I can thank you, and would love to have you follow along and just hang out with me tonight. So with that, let's get right into it. So how many of you guys saw the awesome rally in Washington, D.C. over the weekend? Hey, April, how are you? How incredible was that? Millions of people gathered. The estimates are anywhere from 1.1 to 1.4 million people came together in Washington, D.C. in support of President Trump this weekend. Now, the mainstream media, of course, is not going to report the numbers, right? The accurate numbers. You know, I think I read somewhere, hey, Shannon, how are you? Good to have you on. Hey, Macy, how are you? Stephanie, good to have you on as well. So I read one article that said that tens of thousands of people showed up in Washington, D.C. Of course, they're never going to acknowledge what was really going on this weekend. Millions of people gathered and rallied on behalf of President Trump and on behalf of a fair and honest election this weekend. It was a beautiful sight. At one point, I think one of my favorite moments, I watched a lot of the media. I wish I was there. Any of our viewers, were you there this weekend? Would love to know. But so at one point, President Trump came through with his motorcade, and you could just see this big grin on his face as he saw the overwhelming support that showed up. I mean, people that came from all over the country were there. And it was a cool opportunity for people to really show their appreciation for President Trump. He's shown up for 4 years for us. He's fought for us. You know, he's fought big government. He's fought, you know, draining the swamp, so to speak, for us for the last 4 years. And so it was an opportunity for us to show up on his behalf and really just demand a fair and honest election, which is what we all want. And so it was an awesome sight. I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on. Hello, Candace. How are you? Even my friends from Philippines are tuning in tonight. Good to have you guys on. Hey, Hector, how are you? So patriots gathered from all over the country. And at one point, of course, wherever there's good, there's always evil, right? Wherever there's good, there's always evil. And we had Antifa show up at the event this weekend, and they attacked the elderly. They attacked innocent men, women, and children. They were spit on. These people were punched, knocked out in one case. People were getting kicked while they were down, attacking families. Like, what cowards? You know, if anybody, Antifa, I want you to know you are nothing but cowards. You know, to me, it's like these cockroaches that come out of nowhere, right? They cover their faces in black, and they always attack people from behind, right? They always attack them from behind, and they always attack the most vulnerable people. Aussies for Trump, I love it. Adriana, thank you so much for watching. But they always attack the most vulnerable people. Have you guys ever noticed that? You know, it's the elderly, it's those type of people. And I don't know, has anybody ever seen these people? Like, have you ever just seen what Antifa people look like? So let me give you, this is Portland, Oregon. These were the arrests that were made during the riots. Let's just take a look at the people that are out there rioting, or the people that are out there that are attacking fellow patriots. This is who you're dealing with. These are the masked up people right here. So it's just interesting to me that they always turn up, but they were completely outnumbered, and it was a beautiful sight to see. So if anybody has any pictures, if you were there this weekend, we would love to see them. Feel free to go over to Patriot Updates and share your personal pictures. But it was an awesome sight as well. Hey, listen, if you're just tuning in, welcome to Patriot Updates. If you shared tonight's episode, we appreciate it. Type shared in the comment section so that we can thank you. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you are tuning in from. So listen, Trump tweets today. No, he's not shy when it comes to his tweets, right? So he tweets today, rigged. He says that the Denver-based Dominion voting system ruined the election. And we're seeing a lot more conversation around the Dominion software. So we're going to be focusing on that a lot tonight. And if the allegations are true in what we're hearing about the Dominion software system, which are pretty crazy. I mean, we're going to hear from tonight a three-star general who's got the highest level of security clearance that you could possibly imagine. We're going to be hearing from his attorney, Sidney Powell, who is one of the most influential and powerful attorneys in the entire country, who we're going to be hearing from tonight as well. But if these allegations are true about Dominion software, then this really could change the entire outcome of an election. I think we ought to start tonight. Hey, Molly, how are you? I couldn't agree with you more. Release the Kraken. So listen, let's just first of all look at the definition of dominion. Has anybody ever just looked at the definition or looked up what dominion means? So dominion is the power or right of governing and controlling, sovereign authority, rule, control, domination, which I think is very, very interesting. And here's the thing. So Dominion experts have said that there are no updates that can be done to the Dominion software without proper certification. The problem is that their assurances have been completely contradicted now by all kinds of different vendors, by election officials. They say you can't access the code without an update required. Well, here's the thing. We know for a fact that there were updates to those machines a day before the election. And here's what's ironic. I find this ironic. So Dominion executives were originally questioned by Congress, okay? And here's what's ironic. They were questioned about Dominion because they were worried about Russian interference. Does anybody remember that? So the reason why originally they were under hot water and they had to come before Congress is because of Russia, right? The Russian fake interference that we all now know was made up by the Obama-Biden presidency. So that's when they first came under hot water. And even Senators Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Ron Wyden issued a formal complaint in 2019 about Dominion voting systems. And among those complaints, and there were a lot of them, but one of the main complaints cited were allegations of vote switching. That was the number one concern cited by Democrats in 2019 were allegations of being able to switch the votes with this software, which I think is just, again, how ironic. We already know that Dominion helped Michigan by 6,000 votes. That's a 30% shift. And they've referred to it as a glitch. These glitches don't happen, guys. These software programs are pre-programmed, but they've referred to it as a glitch. And an independent analysis has already shown that if that shift was similar in other states, using the Hammer scorecard software, think of Hammer as like a cell phone and scorecard is like the app that goes on the cell phone. So if similar shifts were done in other states, it could very easily lead to a false Biden victory. And I think that it's important. We have to ask ourselves, why are millions of people traveling to Washington, D.C. in support of President Trump? What's going on right now? I think it's important that we have to look at what's happening right now. Tens of millions of people believe that this entire election was a con job. It's true. Tens of millions of people believe that this election was a con job against President Trump. And regardless of your position, regardless of your, who you're affiliated with, which party, that's not a healthy outcome of any election. Sure, it's natural for one side to be upset, one side to be disappointed if their party lost. But here's what happens. When you lose faith in the entire process, when you lose faith in the entire election process altogether, we all lose. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because if people now doubt the entire process, the voting systems, then it undermines the entire foundation of our republic. And that should concern all of us as Americans before Republicans and Democrats. I want to, Texas even turned down Dominion 3 times. They turned down Dominion 3 times because of the security issues, because of their concerns with the lack of security involved. I want to, can you imagine for a moment, can you imagine for a moment that the Dominion system was changing votes from Biden to Trump? Okay, let's just all imagine this for a moment. We would have hearings, even at this point, just with the allegations that have been made, the people that have come forward, right? And you're going to be hearing a lot about them tonight. The people that are coming forward. What's up, Jody? How are you? Hey, Don, thank you so much. Hey, Lourdes. So think about this for a moment. And we're going to be hearing from the different people that have already come forward. If the system was changing votes from Biden to Trump, we would have hearings investigating every single investor. We would be investigating every shareholder. We would be bringing onto the stands expert witnesses, experts on voter technology, and more. But because it's President Trump, it's all good, right? It's all good. And that's where the problem is. The media, they're no longer journalists. They're no longer journalists. They are a PR company. And right now they are a PR company for the Bidens. That's all they are. We saw it through the entire Hunter Biden story. Doesn't matter if there were multiple copies of, the computer that was validated by the DOJ. It doesn't matter. They just completely refuse to. They're a PR company. That's what they are. And I want you to listen to me. This is very important. Okay. There is nothing wrong or there is nothing incorrect about looking into our voter systems or fraud report allegations. There's nothing wrong with that. Because if we never challenge our systems, they are more likely to fail us in the future, right? That's what our country is founded on, is checks and balances. And I can assure you that if the shoe were on the other foot, the same exact thing would be happening. The same exact thing would be happening. And it's interesting is because when people say that Donald Trump is undermining democracy by not conceding, I read that today. He's undermining democracy. First of all, we're a republic. We're not a democracy. But we do use democratic process to elect our officials. And democracy only works when you have faith in the system, right? Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you, my friend. Democracy only works when you have faith in the system. That's it. And if you don't have that, then you have nothing, right? You have to have faith in the process. You have to have faith that, without oversight and checks and balances, we have absolutely nothing. I want to play you a video by Sidney Powell. But before that, I want you guys, Sidney Powell's been in the news a lot. And, when you see these people, you might know that she was Michael Flynn's attorney. Maybe you don't know who she is and you're just starting to hear her name now. And so then you start thinking, well, are they credible? Is this person that's coming forward someone that we can actually believe? So let me give you just a little bit of information on Sidney Powell. So she represents individuals and corporations and governments in federal appeals in very, very complex litigation. And she's practiced law primarily in the 5th Federal Circuit for decades. She's been lead counsel in more than 500 federal appeals, 300 of them as an assistant to the United States Attorney. And also she wrote a book, and this is what's really interesting. She wrote a book called Licensed to Lie, which exposed massive corruption in the DOJ and the Department of Justice. After seeing a core group of federal prosecutors break all of the rules, make up crimes, hide evidence, and send innocent people to prison. And so she exposed all of that. So if there's someone that can expose corruption, if there's someone that can take down the alleged fraud focused around the Dominion votes, then it would be her. So this is somebody who isn't just some fame-hungry person that's coming forward who isn't credible. This is somebody who is putting her entire career on the line. And I would love for you guys just to hear, she was on Lou Dobbs, And I want you to hear just a little bit of what she had to say. So let me pull that up. We got a lot of information we're going to be sharing tonight. Welcome to Patriot Updates. Thanks for your support. Hey, listen, if you're just tuning in, click that share button. Let us know that you shared tonight's episode. We would appreciate it. And if you are not yet a member of the Patriot Updates group on Facebook, we encourage you to come check us out. All right, here we go. You guys ready? There we go. So what she had to say, pulled just a little clip from Lou Dobbs. I love Lou Dobbs, but man, he talks slow and I couldn't bear anymore. So I had to clip a little bit. Here we go. That's what she had to say.
Well, I can hardly wait to put forth all the evidence we have collected on Dominion, starting with the fact it was created to produce altered voting results in Venezuela for Hugo Chavez, and then shipped internationally to manipulate votes for purchase in other countries, including this one. It was funded by money from Venezuela and Cuba, and China has a role in it also. So if you want to talk about foreign election interference, we certainly have it now. We have staggering statistical evidence. We have staggering testimony from witnesses, including one who was personally in briefings when all of this was discussed and planned, beginning with Hugo Chavez and how it was designed there, and then saw it happening in this country. As soon as the state shut down on election night and stopped counting, those are the states where the most egregious problems occurred. We also need to look at, and we're beginning to collect evidence on the financial interests of some of the governors and secretaries of state who actually bought into the Dominion systems, surprisingly enough. Hunter Biden type graft to line their own pockets by getting a voting machine in that would either make sure their election was successful or they got money for their family from it.
So listen, first of all, I think that it's important that we point out the reason why Dominion was even created in the first place. It was created by the CIA to overturn foreign countries that we're not big fans of. Like, that was the entire purpose of creation of Dominion, was to alter votes in an election. It was actually created for Hugo Chavez, and then it was farmed out to all kinds of different places. The other thing that she said that was interesting is that they're going to look into the different officials, elected officials, that now have a vested interest in Dominion. And we've already talked about on this show a number of times that the Trump Foundation, or the Clinton Foundation, is tied back to the Dominion software. We also know that the Feinsteins, the great senator out of California, is also tied to the Dominion software. In fact, her husband is one of the chief owners involved in Dominion. So this goes pretty deep. And this is this is an 8-minute clip that you can, or 8-minute video that you can see her on Dobbs. She's been on Judge Deneen and a number of other shows over the last 24 to 48 hours, talking about the number of people that are coming forward, all the way back to the creation of Dominion, the backdoor ways into Dominion, the way that you can alter and adjust votes. Something else that I found that was interesting. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing that, a little longer clip for later. Something else that's interesting is she talked about how when the states stopped counting, and we're going to show another clip a little later on here from Rudy Giuliani a little later on in the show, that shows all of the states that stopped counting at the exact same time. And these are all the states where we're seeing complete chaos, all of which use the Dominion software. And, you know, at that 12:30 hour between 12 and 4 is where we know all of a sudden these states dramatically flipped. And so there's some serious allegations that are coming forward. And, you know, one of the tricks of the left is that they have convinced us that we live in a free country and that all the elections are just fair and we should trust them. And then when you question at all, right, you question the vote, you question Dominion, you question the 683,000 votes that are still outstanding in Pennsylvania as a result of not following voter laws. Anytime that you question any of this, then all of a sudden you're attacked. They attack you and they say that you are undermining the elections. You have former President Obama who shames you for wanting answers, right? That's their MO. That's what they always do. And you now have cities that can tip an election through questionable absentee ballots, right? We've talked about this on the last show. So what do? They look at the voter registration logs. They don't care how accurate they are. Doesn't matter if somebody, was on that list from 10 years ago and is no longer even alive. They just blanket and send out as many ballots as they possibly can. And we know what the result is from that, right? You have people that are voting multiple times, people that are voting that are dead, like we talked about on the last show. We have voter systems that we don't trust, voter registrations that we can no longer audit, voter laws that are no longer followed, right? So you now have in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, literally chaining up doors so that Republican challengers can't come in and watch them counting the votes. What are you hiding, right? I mean, if there's nothing to hide, then why are you going to such extreme measures, including passing out pamphlets that are telling you how to distract the challengers that are there? Why did they do that in Michigan if you have nothing to hide, right? So, Dems and their counterparts, who are the lamestream media, are the ones who, in my opinion, are attacking democracy by trying to brush off all of these allegations under the radar, right? That's who's attacking democracy. We want to make sure it's fair and honest. We want to make sure that it's fair and honest. And today on Charlie Kirk, agreed, Cheryl. Today on Charlie Kirk, General McInerney discussed Hammer and Scorecard. And he too acknowledged this was a program developed by the CIA to overthrow governments that we didn't think highly of across the country. Now, this is a 3-star general who has the highest security clearance in the entire country. And he's here telling us why this was created in the first place. He also claims that it absolutely was used in this election. These are huge allegations, right? From a 3-star general claims that it absolutely was used in this election. He also went on record and said that there is a 90% chance that Trump will serve another term. Now, I know some of my Democrat friends probably watching this right now. That doesn't make you happy. But all we want is a fair and honest election. He is saying the same as Rudy Giuliani. He's saying the same as Sidney Powell. And this has been making the Biden campaign a little bit nervous. How do you know that they're nervous? Because the media, you can watch how they respond, right? You can see based on how they're handling the story. And what do? They just dismiss the stories, right? They refuse to engage at all, just like they did with the Hunter Biden story. They just completely ignored it. There's multiple reports that have come out that show that had the media reported what was going on with Hunter Biden, that it would have changed the outcome of the election. But they refused. And they're now going to be called in front of Congress and the Senate, both Facebook and Twitter, on the handling of how they handled the elections and what they chose to show and what they didn't show. And I think we're going to be hearing a lot more of that in the future. So this has the Biden campaign very nervous. And you can see in how they refuse to engage, or what do? They call it just a conspiracy theory. That's the standard MO, right? I mean, it's used to shut off every single debate. It's just, I mean, it's you know what it does is it signals, hey, we're entering into an unspeakable zone. So let's just call it a conspiracy. There's all of you crazy conspiracy theorists out there for even wondering whether the over 11,000 reports now of alleged fraud, hundreds of sworn statements, affidavits about alleged voter abuse. Summer has a friend, and of course won't say her name, but and they always have great, healthy conversations. And she was saying, well, I think that those people were paid. And I was just like, all right. If you have 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, I'll give you 5, maybe 10. I'll even give you 15, 20. But to go find hundreds of people in multiple states that are all swing states, right? These are all swing states that, obviously, determined the outcome of our election, or will determine the outcome of our election. And you have people that are coming forward that are losing their jobs, right? For example, the gentleman at the USPS that lost his job in Pennsylvania, that has been ridiculed, has been attacked. He was interrogated by the FBI for over 4 hours, persuaded to change his position by the FBI. You have people that are swearing and coming forward with affidavits at the risk of perjury that could put them in jail. And you're telling me that they're all just being paid. Come on. Come on.
Their lives are being threatened.
Right? Their lives are being threatened. You know, this gentleman, I think it's James O'Keefe out of Pennsylvania, lost his income. He was suspended because he came forward as a whistleblower without income by the Postal Service, who we all know came out in favor for the Democrats. So it's just interesting to me how everything is a conspiracy theory, right? It's all used to just discredit. It goes back to 1967, a CIA memo that puts forward all kinds of great and many of the commonly heard rebuttals to the Warren Commission report. And what happened? The CIA owned over 250 media outlets in the 1960s, and they spent close to $1 billion in today's numbers spreading information and had people doing its bidding in every major city in the world. So it's not surprising that they were able to disseminate an idea, right? And that's what the media does. That's what they do. They shut you down. They shut you down. So, you know, let's not forget Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, right? Anybody read that? You should. One of the key rules, and this is number 6, ridicule is man's most potent weapon. There is no defense. It is almost impossible to counterattack ridicule. Also, it infuriates the opposition, who then react to your advantage. This is the media's and the left's #1 arsenal. Isn't that interesting? Solinsky or Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Guys, Sidney Powell, this is somebody who doesn't bluff, right? This is somebody who doesn't bluff. She does not say things without factual evidence. This is one of the most credible and influential attorneys in the entire country. She doesn't bluff. She's always been right when she predicts something. And Sidney Powell said the transition team for Joe Biden is going to be non-existent. You know, this is a real factual, reasonable, level-headed attorney that now represents Michael Flynn, which is one of the most immoral witch hunts that we've seen in U.S. history, by the way. We won't even go there. And Sidney says, we have sworn testimony why this software was designed. It was designed to rig elections. That was the sole purpose of why Dominion was created in the first place. It was exported to international markets for profit. We have evidence from 2016 in California. We have so much evidence coming in that it's like a fire hose, end quote, from Sidney. Another interesting fact, so Charlie Kirk's team was working on this, and they were searching Smartmatic, which is part of the Hammer and Scorecard software. Again, if you're just watching, think of Hammer as your cell phone, Scorecard as an app on your phone, right? So they were doing some searches on Smartmatic. I don't like to say they were doing they Googled, because there are other options out there. And hopefully some of you guys are making that switch to DuckDuckGo from Google, because Google controls what we see, just the same way that Facebook and Twitter do. And what they found is that prior to the election, a couple of days before the election, they were already posting information that said, watch out for misinformation about Smartmatic after the election. So they were being preemptive, which I think is very, very interesting. What were they trying to preempt? This all came out before the election even came out. So they were talking about potential accusations around Hammer and Scorecard. Pretty interesting stuff, right? Hey, Maria, thank you. I did get your message today. Thank you for sending that out. Hey, Robert, how are you? Hey, listen, if you're just tuning in to Patriot Updates, thanks so much for your support. If you are not following us over at the Patriot Updates group on Facebook, then we encourage you to go over and join the group. And if you're tuning in tonight and you share tonight's episode, please type shared so that we can thank you. So a 3-star general that serves in every single theater in combat across the planet has the highest level of security that somebody can possibly have, right, is saying this. He is saying that Hammer and Scorecard and the tabulation of votes interfered with this election. That's what he's saying. let's pull him up. Let's get him up here a little bit. So let's get General McEnany up. This is General McEnany on Charlie Kirk today, so you can hear for yourself.
Directly, play tape.
Okay, Hammer and Scorecard were initially developed, Charlie, in 2003 as a signals intelligence on the Taliban and radical Islamists. It was very successful. It was developed by a chap by the name of Dennis Montgomery, who's a genius, maybe the smartest guy in the world on this business. In any case, when President Obama came in, 2 weeks, Charlie, after he came in on February 3rd, 2009, he moved it out of the CIA over to a secret SCIF, a self-contained intelligence facility that we use in Fort Montgomery, and he started listening to U.S. citizens. Oops, mistake number one.
Yes.
CIA and nobody listens to U.S. citizens. But Barack Obama directed Jim Clapper and John Brennan to do it. They did that. I got involved with it in 2017, March, when I announced they were using it to listen to the Trump campaign as well as the Trump administration. A week ago tonight, 2 weeks ago tonight, 2 days before the election, I got word that they were using Hammer and Scorecard, which was a new application. Envision Hammer being like your iPhone and Scorecard being an app on it. They break into communications areas. They put a scorecard on it. It manipulates the data, voting data. It's only focused on voting, like your apps on your iPhone may be for your bank, for whatever, travel, whatever it is. This changes the vote count, so it's about a 3% difference between moving votes from Trump to Biden. And I predicted on Steve Bannon's show on Monday night, Monday afternoon around 1 or 2 o'clock, that we were going to lose the election because they were using Scorecard and Hammer to change the vote. Now, I know it's really true because Fox News will not let anybody that comes on there say Scorecard or Hammer. And so they've intentionally isolated that. Somehow they got Fox News to flip, which tells you how big this is. And I could give you a bunch of names, I won't, of people that are involved in this that are going to shock you.
So a couple of things that I heard there. So first of all, this was originally established for the purpose of cheating elections. That's the whole purpose of why Dominion was created. I heard that Obama, according to the 3-star general, was using some of the same software to listen to U.S. to survey, to provide surveillance on us as Americans, which we know to be true. I mean, some of you guys might remember Snowden and the movie that came from that. 3% difference. Would that make a difference in the outcome of this election? Guys, this is a 3-star attorney general. So when somebody says, well, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Guys, we have a 3-star general, highest clearance in the entire country, that's here telling you that Hammer and Scorecard was used. I also find it interesting that Fox News will not allow anyone that comes on as a guest to say the words Hammer or Scorecard. Why? If you're an investigative journalist and not a PR company, which is the way that you guys have been acting, then why wouldn't you want to investigate some of these claims that are coming forward? I mean, these are not, it's not like these things are just coming out of thin air. And the overwhelming amount of evidence that, Sidney is gathering is they're saying that they have evidence from those that were part of the initial development of the program all the way through. So this is not over. And when some of you say, well, I think it's time that Trump concedes. Really? Really? I mean, do you think that the Democrats would concede at this point? Of course they wouldn't. Of course they wouldn't. We deserve answers. We deserve answers. Why is it that Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Detroit stopped tabulating votes at the same exact time on election night? You don't think that's just a little bit suspicious? When was the last time that you remember swing states just stopped counting in the middle of the night? I mean, I remember when I was watching the election, I looked at someone and I said, what do you mean they're done counting? They're sending people home. It's never happened in my lifetime. They stop counting, and then when we wake up, they find hundreds of thousands of votes? Really? You know, even Politico called the Democratic performance on election night a, quote, dumpster fire. Sidney claims that with this software, you can drag and drop Trump votes to a separate folder, which either completely eliminates them or you can switch the votes altogether. And they have evidence of this. So it baffles me. How did 6,000 ballots change in Michigan? It's not a glitch. It's not a glitch. How did Trump do better in every single urban city except for the swing states? Explain that to me. How did he do better in every single urban city except the 3 that determined the outcome of this election? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? You're right, it smells fishy. It does, Billy. It does. The answer could very well be what Sidney and this general are telling us. You know, Chuck Schumer went on an interview. He doesn't do interviews very often. And he went on an interview, and he was talking about Trump tweeting against the CIA. And he actually said, and we'll find this interview and I'll post it over in Patriot Updates. He said, the CIA, you don't go after them. You don't go after them. You go after them. Listen, they have, and this is quote, they have 6 ways to Sunday to come after you and bury you. This is Chuck Schumer admitting who really is running our government, right? The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. So what does that have to do with the election results? Powell and McInerney claimed that the CIA developed this software internationally, and they are now using it domestically. They're now using it domestically. McInerney says, General McInerney said, that is exactly what is happening. You know, the head of Smartmatic is now, get this, so the head of Smartmatic, who is Smartmatic and Hammer and Scorecard hand in hand, they go together as a software. So get this, the head of Smartmatic is now on the Biden transition team. Does that surprise anybody? Smartmatic was used all across the world for the purpose of the CIA, and he is now on the Biden transition team. Isn't that interesting? Listen, we know already what they're willing to do. Like, we know what they're willing to do. They spied on Trump's campaign. This is not alleged. This is now has all come out. They spied on his campaign. They tried to impeach him by listening to his phone call. And then, of course, the Mueller report came out and fizzled their plans once again. So the question that I would ask you is, could they have leaned on the same relationships with the CIA and some of the same technology to alter the outcome of this election? It's a very valid question, especially with the amount of people that are coming forward. Guys, I mean, take Dominion and set it aside. The amount of voter fraud allegations that are coming forward from Pennsylvania, from Michigan, now today, Virginia, all the way through, it's overwhelming. But then you bring in the Dominion story and it takes it to an entirely different level. So part of being a conservative is being skeptical of government centralized power, right? That's part of being a conservative. What did Reagan say? You know, the scariest words that you'll ever hear from the government are, I'm here to help. The government, I'm here to help, or whatever it is from Ronald Reagan. Somebody, I don't know that exact quote. Somebody can post that. So you guys remember Ed Snowden when the government was listening to us? I mean, they were listening to our own citizens. Headline News turned it into a documentary. Snowden's now, I think, in Russia. People were outraged that the government could, without reason, or even without a warrant, unconstitutionally run surveillance on their own citizens. By the way, this came out of the Obama presidency. This was all orchestrated by our central intelligence agencies. Same agencies that Chuck Schumer warned Donald Trump about. It was on the Rachel Meadows show. The same exact agencies that Chuck Schumer warned Donald Trump about. He basically said that they run the country, not the people. Not we the people, the Central Intelligence Agency. So Rudy Giuliani has been, hey, Catherine, how are you? Good to have you on tonight. So Rudy Giuliani has been pretty vocal. He's fired up. been going on all kinds of different shows and talking a little bit. I'm going to play a clip from Rudy tonight as well, and you can hear a little bit about what he has to say. So if you're just tuning in, again, we've been talking about the huge allegations of voter fraud focused around the Dominion software. You have 3-star generals that are coming forward now and saying that it was used in this election. People that have the highest level of security clearance that you could possibly have. You have some of the most, one of the most reputable attorneys in the country coming forward and claiming that she has overwhelming amount of evidence. In fact, her exact words were, "We're literally drinking from a fire hose right now," Sidney Powell says, with an overwhelming amount of evidence that's coming forward. These are people that don't just put their reputations on the line lightly. So let's see what Rudy has to say. Rudy's a patriot, and he's been fighting for the cause. So let me pull this up.
Finally, you want to get down to the votes, let's just pick Pennsylvania. We have identified 632,000 illegal votes. 632,000. It's enough to have the president win the state by 300,000, which is actually what he won it by, right? If you get that Smartmatic machine out and you allow us, I mean, this is unprecedented. They're counting mail-in ballots, and they don't allow any Republican to inspect. That is illegal, unlawful, against the law. I don't know how else to put it.
Play cut 47 of Rudy Giuliani saying how the Smartmatic system has a back door so you can see how many votes are needed to get an electoral advantage.
This is very interesting,
very
right
creepy
here.
stuff, and it's completely consistent with what General McInerney and Sidney Powell have been saying. Play cut 47.
And I have a graphic showing the states where they stopped counting, which I thought was also strange.
So take a look at that. These are all the states that stopped counting around 12 o'clock, 12:30 at night. How many of you guys remember? You were watching live. These are all the states that stopped counting. Isn't it interesting that these are the swing states? Now, let me take you back to election night. So at about 11:30 at night, the momentum was clearly on Donald Trump's side. They had just awarded Florida to Donald Trump. They were holding back on awarding several other states, even though at that time it looked like he had massive leads. It was very clear that the media did not want to give anything to Trump that night, but he still had the momentum. And in fact, at one point, one of the anchors on Fox News said, "Man, this is beginning to feel like 2016 all over." And he even said to one of the Democrats that was on their panel, "How you feeling?" And she says, "Well, I can still see one possible avenue for Joe Biden to win." He says, "One? Man, a couple of hours ago, you guys were saying that there were 7 or 8 possible paths for Joe Biden to win this election. In fact, some of the polls, which we now know were completely made up, showed Biden up 17 points. So all of a sudden, around 12:30, you see these news anchors start saying, "Well, we're done counting for the night. We've stopped counting. We've stopped counting." Some of the states said we literally sent our workers home. Now, when in your lifetime has that ever happened in an election? And I want you to pay attention. These 6 states stopped counting early. Now, let's keep going.
To stop counting in the middle of election night. One source says that the key point to understand is that the Smartmatic system has a back door that allows it to be, that allows the votes to be mirrored and monitored, allowing an intervening party a real-time understanding of how many votes will be needed to gain an electoral advantage. Are you saying the states that use that software did that?
Well, I can prove that they did it in Michigan. I can prove it with witnesses. We're investigating the rest. In every one of those states, though, we have more than enough illegal ballots already documented to overturn the result in that state.
So even without, but it's sure fishy, isn't it? I mean, you got to admit, it's pretty fishy stuff. Never seen before in our lifetime, a election to stop counting. So Rudy Giuliani claims that there's 632,000 illegal votes in Pennsylvania alone. We're seeing more and more lawsuits that are coming to fruition. Even here in Arizona, a lot of people have been asking me, what's the date? What's the deal with Arizona? It was just so strange how it took them almost a week to count the last, 40, 50,000 votes. I think they declared, I don't know if it's official or unofficial, the state to Biden. There was a deficit of about 8,000, but now there's a lot of votes that are being, or ballots that are being challenged. And so I suspect that that will be challenged in court and potentially pushed to a recount. Maybe, we'll see. So that's happening here in Arizona. But guys, this is far from over. I mean, with the allegations that are coming forward, I mean, it's not just, if it was just one thing, but the amount of, allegations that are coming forward about Dominion, about Hammer and Scorecard. I mean, you guys remember the name Smartmatic, Hammer and Scorecard, and Dominion, because you're going to be hearing a lot more about that. The allegations, you have over 11,000 alleged reports that have been filed about voter fraud. People that are voting that are passed away, that are on, voting polls. You have people that were locked out, challengers that were not able to look at the ballots. I mean, this was not a fair election in any way, shape, or form. And so for those of you that call now for Republicans to unite, come on. And Joe Biden, in the words of Joe Biden, come on, man. Really? I mean, do you really think that if the tables were turned and these allegations were coming forward about Dominion, and the shoe was on the other foot, we would be in Congress and we'd be hearing from every single investor, every single shareholder. We would be hearing from everybody. So the fact that we are asking for transparency and that we want to investigate every single one of these allegations, don't feel bad about it. Don't let the media make you feel bad about it, because that is that's what they're doing. They want you to, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. I put up in Patriot updates this week, and it absolutely infuriated me. I don't have it, but somebody called, it was Newsweek. Newsweek reported that Trump's neo-Nazi supporters were gathering together in Washington. Really? This is the media that wants to unite? Are you a neo-Nazi supporter? Trump's done quite a bit for Israel, the last that I've seen. He has the support of the president there. So it's interesting to me that everybody wants to call him a Nazi or a racist. You realize he got more votes, more African-American votes than any president since the 60s? Just blows my mind. The media is, they control a narrative. They are a PR company. They are not journalists. And I'm going to close tonight by playing a clip from Judge Jeanine. Judge Jeanine's back. Did you guys see? So Fox News is under hot water right now. They hired a crisis manager because their base is abandoning them, because they abandoned their base. Do you guys know that there are reports that President Trump called the owner of Fox News, asking him to repull the claim, the state that was awarded, after they saw how much it was narrowing, and he refused to do so. There's a report, James Murdoch's wife, so the Murdoch family owns Fox News. James Murdoch's wife tweets, "We did it," and shares anti-Trump posts after Biden's quote-unquote supposed win. Right here. So this is the owners of Fox News. They abandoned their base, and now they're in crisis because nobody wants to watch Fox News anymore. They're in crisis. They're in crisis mode. Sorry, my dog's even getting worked up over here. So we've got the Murdochs. Sorry. Sorry, I've got a dog barking, and she's a little bit worked up. So anyways, they're in crisis right now, and they're wondering why their people abandoned them. So anyways, but I want to play a clip. So Judge Jeanine, that's where I was going. So Judge Jeanine, who was originally, her show was canceled on Sunday night. She laid out all kinds of evidence, voter fraud and allegations. She laid out all of this on her show, and her show was canceled. And then the next day, there were allegations that she was going to be fired. And then all of a sudden, Fox took a total 180. And it's because they saw the response. They saw what was happening and how outraged people were. Patriots like yourself were. And so I think it's interesting, to see Fox News right now that they're waffling a little bit. And so Judge Jeanine's back. And I want you to hear, and we're going to close with this. I want you to hear what Judge Jeanine had to say to those that think that we should concede, that we should just you know, don't be a sore loser. It's over, right? I want you to hear what she has to say about that. And then we'll close for today. Here we go. Pull this up now. Play this.
Oh, no. We will pursue all legal avenues where there are irregularities, anomalies, illegalities, and corruption. And until the certification and the electors vote, that is not a lot to ask. So don't you dare ask us to just accept it and move on. And don't you dare tell me I'm being un-American by questioning what even a Supreme Court justice has put a hold on. And don't you dare ask us to go quietly into the night.
Amen. Love that. We're going to finish on that. And then here, my wife just put in front of me a letter. And we are all being asked as Patriots to do this. The information is in our Patriot group. We'll post it again. But a letter.
Thinking about how she left her light on, or if she locked the front door.
Close this ad out.
You're thinking about how the only word.
Yeah. So President Trump has asked all Patriots to send in letters because he is being, you know, suppressed by the media in support of
social media.
Social media. He's being suppressed on social media. So, you know, he's asked to send in mail directly to him. And here's kind of an example of what that letter states. So it says, as a citizen of the United States, I support and expect a legal election. These are dangerous times threatening our republic. We are counting on you to continue to stand firm to protect our Constitution and a fair and legal election process. We are behind you and are outraged at what we have seen throughout your first term. The outrageous lies and corruption at the expense of our tax dollars, and most importantly, the attacks on your office of president and our Constitution must be addressed. We need justice to see these criminals, high-level Democrats, the FBI, and the CIA officials be accountable before the law. We believe in you. We need you to stand strong. God bless you, and God bless America, American citizen. So we're going to post this. Actually, I'm going to post this in our group so that if anybody wants to print this, sign it, and send it off to President Trump.
I have one for everyone.
Summer's here, everybody.
Hi, sorry. I have one printed out and ready for every single one of the people who are eligible to vote here in our household.
And we encourage you to do the same. So we'll put this up again. If you're not a member of our Patriot Updates group, we encourage you guys to go and join. If you just catching this or you stayed with us throughout today's show, please share this information. Right now, the media is not talking about anything that we talked about today. They're suppressing these stories, and it's time that we fight back. And so we encourage you, here's how you can help. Number one, share today's episode. Number two, join the group. Number three, invite your fellow Patriots to join the group as well, and let's get this information out. And number four, send a letter to President Trump. We will put this in the Patriots group for you tonight. So, hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys sticking with me here. I am going to put my name proudly,
John Hancock.
my John Hancock, on this document. And with that, God bless America. We'll see you guys again soon on Patriot Updates. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. You guys take care.